Have you been drinking too much alcohol because your body uncontrollably craves it? Are you around the ages of 40 to 45 years old and are experiencing hot flushes and noticing that your period is pretty much non-existent? Or have you simply not been getting enough sleep for months on end now? Today, many normal bodily actions and conditions have come to be treated as medical conditions whereby diagnosis, prevention, and treatment is given. And this is essentially what medicalization means and entails. To get an overall better understanding of this term medicalization, I'm going to be looking at an example of the birthing processes of Inuit women in northern Canada. So in the year 2000, the Canadian government imposed a new law onto these Inuit pregnant women, whereby they are to give birth to their child in a hospital setting. Now, this might not seem like such a big deal to those of us who already live in a westernized world, myself included, but to those pregnant Inuit women and their people in general, this westernized practice of giving birth in a hospital is something that goes against their traditional ways of birthing and labor. This is because instead of giving birth surrounded by elders, mothers, aunts, and other family members and relatives, Inuit women are forced to give birth within an isolated, sterile, and unfamiliar environment compared to the traditional environment and what that normally looks like for these Inuit women. Not to mention the fact that to give birth, these Inuit women had to be flown out to the nearest hospital, which is actually really dangerous if you are pregnant because it can induce labor. And they could only bring one family member or relative, someone that they know with them, only one. And so looking at the situation from different angles, the question of why the traditional ways of birthing of these Inuit people has been medicalized arises, and on what basis was this law implemented if the traditional ways of birthing of these Inuit people has been around for much, much longer than the relatively 2 decades ago that the law was implemented and first put in place. Was this all just a money-making scheme? Are biomedical individuals assuming that there is only one right way of birthing a child? What about how other cultures view birthing? And what about medical pluralism, which includes all the ways that someone receives healthcare, how they view healthcare, and the systems that constitute the various modes of healthcare? Why is this being overlooked? This is also a really good example to see exactly how structural violence takes shape within the realm of the medicalization of bodies. So in this example, the structural violence would be the new law implemented by the Canadian government, right? The structure. And this is violent because it disrupts the culture of the Inuit people. Overall, giving birth in a hospital is a good suggestion, right? It probably is a lot safer, and if something were to go wrong, there is proper equipment available for use. But this should not be enforced onto these Inuit pregnant women because it strips them of their agency. Thus, many people deem medicalization as a way of turning seemingly normal conditions and ways of doing things and behaving into profit, and view its purpose as such. To give a more personal example, I will be looking at acne and hair removal. So initially, I viewed acne as something natural, something that, is a part of maturing and growing up, especially once you hit the age where you go through puberty, where there are a lot of hormonal imbalances, and the result of this are a lot of impurities and pimples on your face, which is what I experienced. But as I spoke to more and more people and saw a lot of things online, like adverts and just people speaking on the topic of these things that, present themselves on your face and other parts of your body, it became clear that these things were something to be eliminated and reduced, and that there needed to be treatment out there, and that there was treatment now out there to prevent you from getting pimples, acne. And so we can see how pimples have become medicalized in that sense. Another example is hair removal, in that it was only until I heard my mom and other women speaking on this idea of being hairless and having no hair on your body, and you know, to remove hair, you would go through processes of shaving, waxing, IPL, intense pulse light, or the more professional salon version, which is laser, right? And this ultimately changed my view on hair on my body, and you know, initially seeing it as something natural, and now seeing it as something that should be eliminated and removed. And so in that sense, we can also see that hair removal has become medicalized, right? There are treatments out there to remove hair. And so, to conclude, although the medicalization of certain areas of your body can be a good thing, right, as it allows for proper treatment to help reduce, eliminate, help or maintain a certain condition or area of your body, this can also be a bad thing, because this can be seen as a form of social control. It can disrupt different cultures and societies, and it can also make the person feel quite paranoid and worried about a condition that they might have, because it has now become medicalized when it didn't actually need to be medicalized in the first place. The medicalization of bodies will continue to be a phenomenon that continues to frame how one views themselves and their conditions, so long as these seemingly normal conditions are classified as something pathological and in need of medical care.